It's the Craggy Rugby Podcast. I'm Rob Murphy. This is Alan Deegan.
Hiya, Rob.
Good times. That's as high. I think we just need to save that in the audio vault for the happiest Alan Deegan ever has been on a cold open. How are you?
Oh, wow. Just wow. You know, what a display from Connacht Rugby, almost from start to finish. They've come away from the RDS with a victory, a try bonus, and they're still in with a chance of getting to a final.
It reminds me of that time Connacht were playing Leinster, and no, we'll save that. We've been warned, but you're getting one more retell of that story before it's finished. 18 years since Connacht won in Donnybrook. Most of you don't know that story. Well, I'll tell you later. And they've done it again. So many stats coming out of this one. One of them was the conversion rate into 22. Another was just like last year they trailed 14-0 at half-time. This year they led 25 points to 5 at half-time. It's the 12-1 outsiders. No chance, no hope. What are they even trying to do up there? It's this team. It's the way they try and play rugby. We're going to hear from Andy Friend. We're going to hear from Jack Carty. We're going to hear Andy Friend underline that they have a belief in the way they're trying to play rugby. And even if it doesn't suit the weather, they're going to figure out a way. Well, he didn't say that. They're just going to plough on, which, you know, you could be saying, how is that going to work? Well, maybe it will work. I don't know. Listen, rugby is about a long season. There are ups and downs. The last 2 weeks, they had a downer, but this is so far up that it just puts that into the rear view mirror.
It most certainly does, and what was so impressive about it was at the end of the game, they didn't whoop and holler and sing and dance and whatever. They got into a group and they had Quinn Rue had a few words with him. He was captain on the night, and they looked like a team who were content that they'd done that work, but they've got a lot more work to do.
Right, listen, there's so much to talk about. We got some snippets of audio here we want you to listen to, and it's all going to culminate in the voice of Jack Carty just talking about how much this means to them and how much they know it means to you guys at home. I think there's some great stuff here, so sit back and listen and just take it all in. And now Leinster are driving into the Connacht half of the field. Connacht have intercepted though, and they're bursting clear, and Jack Carty is away. Jack Carty's going the whole half of the field. He's going towards the line. He's going to score. Jack Carty has scored. Here goes Blade, brilliant offload from Della Hunt, and Blade is away. He pops it back inside to Jack Carty, looking for a second try. He's tackled 5 metres from the line. Great clear out from Blade, great pick and go there from Sammy Arnold coming up the field. Leinster on the wrong side, killing the ball, slow ball, but they're getting away with it. Blade 5 metres from the Leinster line. Dominic Robertson McCoy is the chance going from Connacht. Well, certainly in a great position here. Blade again. Daly takes a lovely line and takes 2 Leinster players to take him down. That gives Connacht a good platform. One more push might do it. They're over the line. They've scored. Brilliant from Daly initially, and I do believe that Jack Carty has got in for his second try of this game. What a start for Connacht. The rank outsiders are now in control of the contest in these early stages. The left is the open side. Blade disguises to the right, goes himself, he's going for the line. That's outrageous from Blade. He's against the post, he's touched against the post. That doesn't count anymore, they need to use it. Connacht thought they might have had a try. They would have last season, they don't this season. They're on the line, Connacht. This is critical. They're trying to score. They've nearly got over, they're stopped short. Connacht forwards piling in, combination. Thornbury's at the back of this one, driving them over. The ball is recycled. They might try to go to the back line. Blade, Carty scoops it out. Daly, one more pass might do it. Alex Wooden, he's got another try. Alex Wooden can't stop scoring. Connacht have 3 tries. This is outrageous stuff. Leinster 5, Connacht 23. Last play of the first half. Don't believe what I'm watching here. And they're inside the Connacht 22, and now they're charging free from it. Sean Cronin against his own team. What an offload. Leinster score in the corner. They're back in the game. They're roaring. They're celebrating. Connacht are rattled. Not again. Surely not again. They're not going to find their way back. Well, they're the best team in Europe, so well, as far as we're concerned, they are. So they might just do that. Brilliant score in the corner. I think it was Baird who got it. Listen to this.
We've got a lot of injuries now. We can't have players dying every stoppage. Yeah. If this continues, I'm going to start playing
like absolute giants though, in fairness.
That's okay.
So if you didn't catch that, referee not happy that there's so many players injured, and Caelan Blade, well, they're playing like absolute giants in fairness to them. What a comment from Caelan Blade. Well, Leinster, good clean ball, intercept by Tom Daly. He has it in his hands. He's been held, he's been tackled, he's still going. He keeps it on his feet. Tom Daly for the line. Tom Daly for the bonus point try. Andy, congratulations. First of all, in the commentary there, I was just asking Alan, what is it about Andy Friend teams that can have a bad moment and then a week later can bounce back like that? He reckons a big part of it is players are learning quickly on the field. I want to get your own thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, Rob, we know it's not a perfect game that we play, and not a perfect occupation that we live in. There are errors, but you've got to make sure that you can grow and learn out of those. And one of the big things that we have here at Connacht is, it's only failure if you don't learn from it. So we continue to get learnings, we continue to fail, we continue to get back up, and we have another go. And I said to the boys before the game today, I was just really proud of the way they bounced back after that loss last week. I said, we turn up here tonight and we've got to trust our systems and trust that we belong in this environment, and that's what they did. I didn't send out a message. I don't think the whole game I didn't send out a message, Rob. So that plaudits therefore goes to the players, and the bloke sitting here on my left, Jack Carty, was a major part of that.
It's funny, we do tend to get a bit mired in detail sometimes in assessing Connacht just over the years, but there is something about Connacht at the moment that's just very heads up, play the game that's in front of you, high octane rugby. Jack's intercept is a great example. I think we had knocked the ball on twice in the series of plays before that, and yet the intercept was a really, really good read that he can speak to in a second, I'm sure. But just that kind of element was a key factor, I felt, in the win.
Yeah, it was. And, we just said coming up here, it's a dry track. We had a very similar performance against Racing. I think people underestimate how hard it is to play the game that we want to play and the game that we believe is the way rugby should be played in Galway. But we'll continue to do it, and we'll continue to make the errors. But when we get to dry tracks and things work for us, you see the belief and you see the confidence grow. So, it was a dry track there tonight, and I thought the boys played accordingly. It was good football.
What does a first win in 18 years away to a European powerhouse like Leinster mean for Connacht's season?
I think it's enormous. I think it's enormous, not only for Connacht, but for everyone else to say, well, they can be beaten. And we're really proud that we're the team that's done it. But you don't rest on this. I think the most important thing, Quinn Rue was our skipper tonight, but he said it in the shed down there tonight. He just said, the most important thing is we back this up now. We've got Munster at the sports ground next weekend, and we've got to turn up and do that again. And we've got to keep, that's got to be hopefully what we deliver every time. Now, we know we won't because we're human beings, but that's what we want to deliver. And when we do get that energy and we do get that accuracy, you can see what happens with it.
I was taken by the fact that Quinn took the time underneath the posts, and just the team were so calm in the way they received that victory. I think a lot of people maybe outside of Connacht will be surprised by how calmly Connacht took such a big victory.
Yeah, I think I think it's important to be humble when you win too. So that we're here at potentially the greatest team in Europe, and we've just knocked them off. So you don't want to be in their face with that either. And I think being respectful is part of rugby. So we definitely when the locker door got locked was shut, there was a lot of excitement and a lot of people jumping around, but we didn't. I didn't think anyone was disrespectful in the way we handled ourselves post the win.
And of course now, I mean, we're talking about the disappointment of Ulster and this incredible turnaround. The flip side of that is you've got to maintain it next week. Yeah,
that's right. And as I said, that's the beauty of the game we play, isn't it? But yeah, not too dissimilar. We got out enthused last week. I thought Ulster were brilliant. They turned up the sports ground and they definitely came home over the top of us. And we actually said after the game, we own that, and we also own that performance out there tonight. So be really proud of that one.
Jack, just for yourself, what was your highlight in that game, just as you look back at it? I mean, you got 20 points in the first half, but we were nearly more, impressed by the way you yourself and the team around you controlled the game in those closing 20 minutes. Maybe just speak to us about the game from your perspective.
I probably was the fact that there was probably a point in the second half where I could have went either way. 2 years ago, we kind of were in a similar position, and the kind of wheels fell off the cart to say. But I think that was probably the most pleasing thing, and there was probably a point there where we had to compose ourselves. We were maybe getting a bit too frantic, and I think, as Friendy said, it's only a loss is only bad if you don't learn from it. And I think, in terms of the stuff we spoke about last week, obviously it's different conditions, but we certainly brought some aspects of that this week. So I'd say that would probably be the most important or most pleasing aspect of it, Rob.
We were just looking at a stat there, Jack, that says that Connacht have had a 60% conversion rate within the 22. They've done that against Glasgow at home, Edinburgh away, Zebre away, and now this game. So with that in mind, I'm thinking of the try that You scored where Quinn kind of went over with you, and it was a really good break from Caelan Blade off Della Hunt, and then Blade cleared you out. That kind of conversion rate seems to be, and that kind of try seems to be something that Connacht have added to their game this season. You must be really happy with those kind of scores, finishing off a half break as well as you did.
Yeah, it's something we've been working on probably for about a year or so. You can see that it's kind of evolved. Last week we got 2 tries at the backs, one from myself and then one from, I think, Porchy, and it's just about kind of the way we've evolved that, I suppose. But the hard work is done by the forwards, you know what I mean? And you can see it this evening and all throughout the year that I suppose when they get go forward, it's quite difficult to defend. So hopefully we can keep that going.
Same question just to finish for you that I kind of asked Andy, which is, what do you think this means for the season?
Yeah, I suppose, look, it's going off the disappointment of last week. It probably is made up for that in terms of our conference. Next week is going to be a massive one in terms of that as well. If it looks like it's going to be, I don't know what the permutations are, if it's going to be top v top or whatever it's going to be. So it gives us a confidence to know that the game plan that we have can set us up to have success. But look, it's just the fact we've been here and been so close 3 or 4 times in the last 5 years, and we never seem to get it. But tonight we did.
Jack, we're getting some great messages into the station from fans. We're seeing it all over social media. Connacht Rugby is trending. People are, it's tough times, so people really, really care when they see their team on the television just putting in a performance like that. Does that mean a lot to you guys?
Yeah, look, it's obviously been an incredibly tough year for everyone. So that performance tonight, hopefully it brought some joy to people for the tough couple of months they've had. And look, it's only probably going to be the same for the next couple of weeks. So hopefully we can kind of continue to do what we've been doing and make the province proud.
Right. Okay, so it's Saturday night, late here in the TG Car studios. Shout out to everyone involved in making this happen that allows us to broadcast these games in a safe and meaningful way during this tough times. The next Irish Interprovincial, I think, will be, hopefully, fingers crossed, it'll be Munster way, and by that stage we will be able to travel in Ireland anyways, and then it's a step-by-step process. But in the meantime, brilliant setup here. We get the ref link, we've got a great view. The only thing we miss is that wide shot. There's nothing TG Car could do for that. We'd love to be in the stadium for that, because there were 1 or 2 moments during that contest when we were wondering, what was the shape? How did that kind of shape up? Well, I was saying to Jack Carty there, and I think it might have got mixed up between the 2 tries. There was a brilliant break from Caelan Blade off a pass from Della Hunt, and then a clear out, and Connacht scored really well. That was 1 try. That was either Carty or Wooten. Forgive me at this stage. The other one came off the back of a scrum where Blade just looked up through the eyes, as you said, because both those scores were exactly about what we're talking about: conversion, making a score count.
Absolutely, and this is it. Danny's just come up with some stats where every time we've broken 60% scoring ratio when we hit the 22, we've won this season. And that's been part of the issues that we've been getting into the 22 an awful lot, and we were talking about it in midweek in the podcast. We've been getting into the opposite 22 and not converting. Today we converted.
Yeah, and it's funny, they even had a line-out malfunction early on, and so there was a couple of points. We're talking about, let's take a point that you made in the commentary at one stage. You're talking about sports psychology, and all the teams that start winning start telling us about their sports psychology, and we never hear about the sports psychology and the teams are losing. So look, hey, it's all part of it and that. But if you want to talk about their mental strength as a group, there was a bad line-out straight away, and it's the same old problem, but they figured it out. There was a moment in the second half where Leinster got caught for crossing, where Turner got a try, and you thought they were falling apart, and you heard Jack Carty in the press conference there. They stopped, they regrouped, they figured it out, and then there was a moment at full time when Leinster got the 4th try where instead of just jumping up and down, Quinn Rue said, hang on a second lads, let me talk to you for a second. And it's just, each of those 3 moments are highlights for me of the right mental approach to this game. Andy Friend said afterwards about being humble. I know where he's going with that, and he's right, but I think it was a little bit more than that. I think it was about saying, listen, we want more than just this.
Yeah, I think so. They've proven now over the last 3 or 4 weeks that they're competitive at the top end. Like at the top end. Okay, Leinster were missing a few players today, so were Connacht. And they had disruption with Sexton going off pretty early in the game, so they played a game without an out half, and Connacht played a game with an out half who ended up getting player of the match, which was important. But this is a Leinster side who haven't been beaten this year. I think they went through the whole of 2020 with only 1 defeat. They certainly haven't lost in the RDS, I think, since April 2019. For Connacht to do what they did, and most importantly, as you say, Leinster came out, scored 2 tries early in the second half, brought themselves right back into the game, had another one disallowed, and from that moment, Connacht took over. And certainly, Jack Carty took over. He just pinned them back. Some of the kicks he put into the corners were just outstanding.
I would recommend that if you just can't get enough Connacht rugby, listen to Pete Wilkinson's chat with William if you haven't already. It's 13 minutes. It's brilliant. We always love talking to the Connacht management, and each one has their own unique style, and Pete has his. And I just thought one of the things that was really interesting about what he talked about was a trend he felt that he saw in these Leinster fixtures, that we're always close. It never feels like we're beaten. I guess he didn't say this, but I guess he was referring to the difference between when we play Munster, when sometimes Connacht can be well beaten sometimes, and when they're playing Leinster, which is rarely, bar last year's outlier, if you like. So I thought it was interesting that they approached that game in that way. I think it's very important that you highlight Leinster were without an out half and had lots of problems and lots of disruption. I think that probably fed into Connacht's reaction to this victory as well. There's a certain amount of this, let's be aware here as well, there's tougher days ahead for us as a group. Literally next week against Munster is arguably going to be a tougher fixture because they're going to be stronger. Obviously Racing 92 coming the week afterwards, and Bristol as well. So put all those things together, Alan, and I just kind of think it is important. Look, we're not trying to take any good mood off anyone listening to this one bit. This is a sensational result. They've lost to much, much, much weaker Leinster teams over the years. Yeah. Having said that, there is context, and I guess the real point that you picked out, that I'm picking out from what you just said there, is this isn't necessarily a surprise to you. They've been competitive. It shouldn't be stunning that they can score 4 tries against a team like this.
No, well, I did put a few bow on them at 12-1, so that was where, that's just an element of, listen, I think there's something there. Like, I didn't even go for the plus 21, which it was, and it dropped down to plus 18. Thought, no, they're either going to win this game or they're not. And felt that I looked at the Leinster team, and I think I said it in commentary a couple of times, they were missing Fardy, they were missing Lowe, they were missing Reece Ruddock, 3 guys who seem to have the hex over Connacht whenever they're on the field. And I think the last time they played a team of similar ilk to that was when John Muldoon played and kicked the conversion in the last minute of the game in the sports ground in 2017, I think it was.
We haven't beaten them since.
But when Leinster always have to have 1 or 2 of those type of players on the field,
which was interesting, because there are kind of B characters to that group, if you like. I'm trying to think of the right way of saying it. Like Sean Cronin, yes, who's a superb warrior, an incredible player. But I mean, in terms of, he almost could do it alone, what Fardy does. And he nearly did, because he set up that try, and it was brilliant for Baird. And I thought it was a key moment. And it just didn't happen, because I just think Sean needed a couple of more of the old war horses around him, and they weren't there.
Yeah, and also if you look at it, I think Connacht kicked for almost 1,000 metres in that game.
Is that, like, we don't know if that's a record, but it feels like it's outrageous.
I've never.
It's outrageous.
It seems like an outrageous number. I'll have to go back and have a look. I don't think we've ever seen us do that before. And I think part of that was the fact that, and again, during the game, I was noticing Jack was finding grass. He was kicking the ball and finding grass.
On at least 2 occasions, he kicked lateral. He literally kicked lateral just to set up a line out. Like, I don't think he meant to on both occasions, but I think he was pretty much trying to find touch anywhere along the touchline. It was like a set. No. We will not give these guys what they want.
No, and also his kick in the depth was fine, and I think he looked at it, and it was a good decision. It was a clever decision. They had 2 guys making their debut in the back 3. So you pick at that.
That back 3, there was one point, the one guy who wasn't made the debut looked as perplexed and just bamboozled by everything was Dave Carney in like the 70th minute.
Yeah. To give him credit, that was an amazing kick from Carty.
No. But my point is, he was bamboozled by just everything was going against him, and that kick goes into touch, and he's like, Mother of God, what have we got to do? And I think if he felt that way, if he was kind of like just exasperated, that's the phrase I was really trying to find, by what was coming at them, and because he knew going forward they had these chances and they looked like they could open Connacht up, and he probably felt like the rest of the Leinster team, this is going to come together. And when it didn't, he was like, wow, what is going on when that kick went in? If he felt that way, how the hell did Max O'Reilly and Andrew Smith review that whole game?
Well, exactly, and poor Max O'Reilly, the first ball he got was thrown over his head. He had to jump and try and catch it, and he was smashed. And then the next ball he got wasn't the greatest pass to him either. He was put under a huge amount of pressure. So you're looking at, you're going after the spine of the team. It's 2, 8, 9, 10 and 15. They had a brand new 15 his first game, and he was put under pressure from them at the start. It wasn't just Connacht. It was a bad pass which then put him under pressure, and then Connacht got after him a little bit. The 10 went off. So there's 2 of your spine gone. Admittedly, Luke McGrath played one of his better games and scored a cracking try. And Dan Levy still looks as though he's still trying to find his way back into the level he was at before. A couple of times he made some crucial turnovers, but he did disappear as the game went on. I think Sean Masterton had a lot to do with that. He had a huge game, smashing everything in sight when he got the opportunity. And that came from a front five that was doing so well.
Sean Masterton, yeah, I think he did about 60 minutes, and I feel like it was like one of those pacemakers in a marathon where he was going to burn himself out by the 18th minute. You and I love cycling, and some lads lead them up for like 75% of the mountain. He was one of those kind of players tonight. He just put himself into every contact situation, and in the end had to go off.
Yeah, he left the field after 68 minutes, and Cian Prendergast came on and immediately started throwing himself around the place and, smashing guys again. So many of these guys are either from Leinster, have some sort of connection with Leinster in the pack, that they really wanted to prove that they were good enough to be on the same field as those Leinster lads, and they did tonight.
Amazing week of audio coming your way. The midweek podcast is the place to be for where we start to really take in what we've watched, because we'll rewatch this. And don't lie at home, folks. You know well you're going to watch this 12 times, and it's okay. You're in a safe space here. You can admit it and enjoy every second of it. But I want to finish this on one thing we did a few weeks ago. We don't have our partner in crime here, William Davis, but we want to kind of finish with a bit of a burst of energy. We did this before. We went through every player. We're not going to do that. We're going through every section of the field. I want you to give me a quick summary of Connacht's back three, centres, half-backs, front row, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to get you to do that. Once that's done, I want to just quickly look at the table, because you were throwing around sentences at me like, geez, maybe Connacht can push towards the top of the table, and I was like, you're raving, Alan, and now you're going to show me that they can. So we'll get to that, and I think our listeners are waiting for my story about Mark McHugh kicking the drop goal. It's a long time ago, folks. I may have never told you about this. I might have to bring it up before it's finished. But first of all, Alan, do you want to have the team sheet in front? You don't need that. It's all in your head. But just talk to me about Connacht's back three tonight.
Well, you can't really argue with John Porch. Had another amazing game. At one stage, he took a catch in his own 22, walloped it down the field. Young Max O'Reilly tried to make a break. He caught him. Max O'Reilly passed the ball out of tackle, and he caught the next player as well. And Connacht got either a scrum or a penalty out of it. It was just a highlight of the work rate that John Porch goes through. Alex Hutton scores another try. What more could you want? And then Peter Sullivan, every time he got the ball, got across the gain line, so he caused problems every time he got the ball. He didn't get it that often because Leicester had quite a lot of possession in that first half, but he did cause problems every time he got the ball, and it looked as though he deserved to be out there.
Tom Daly and Sammy Arnold in the centre.
That partnership is growing and growing and growing. The try that Leinster got taken back that would have brought them within 4 points, turned out that Sammy Arnold was blocked off from making the tackle. And people say, he mightn't have made the tackle. He was smashing everything got within 2 yards of him all night. He was one of his best defensive displays, and that partnership seems to be working really well defensively, it has to be said. In attack, it could do it still a little bit more life, but that's asking for way too much, because I think that both of them are playing really, really well at the moment.
Yeah, Sammy Arnold has started every game bar the three Tom Farrell started, and of course Farrell's gone for the season, so he's the only other one to wear 13 jersey, and he's making that 13 jersey his own. Most competitive players on the pitch was what Pete Wilkins said when they played him on the wing in Edinburgh. We wanted to get our most competitive players on the pitch when they didn't have room for him in the centre, because Tom Farrell was there, but they wanted to still get him on the pitch, so they like something about what he does, and I think we saw it in all its clarity tonight. Caelan Blade and Jack Carty playing for only the second time together from the start in the half-back partnership. Didn't probably work out very well last week as it played out. I think it went pretty well tonight.
They were superb, both of them. Blady in the first half, and even though Jack scored 20 points in the first half, it was more about Blady's control and what he was doing in the first half, and then Jack in the second half. It was just a masterful display of kicking, various different types of kicking, and just putting pressure on the opposite player. Talk about wanting your guys to stand up and show what they're made of. The two of them did it.
Caelan Blades, 26 years of age, has now 119 appearances for Connacht and 20 tries. Jack Carty is 28 years of age, has now 148 appearances for Connacht and 20 tries. That's enough of that. Dennis Buckley, Shane Dillahunt and Dominic Robertson-McCoy led the Connacht front row this evening.
McCoy looked as though he's in trouble early in the game, but he just didn't get himself set on one scrum. After that, he locked down every single scrum. Dillahunt was the guy who started the second try, I think it was, when he picked the ball off the base of a ruck and tore through, something he does in practically every game he plays, which set that up, but passed it on to Blady, who then Jack passed it on, and they went away and scored. And then I thought that was one of Buckley's best games. I think that guy is on fire, and how Ireland can keep looking at some of the players that are missing for them at that level and not take him into account, and watch how he fixes things, how he solves problems, and how he just plays the game in general. I thought he was brilliant tonight.
John Porch has started every game for Connacht. Dennis Buckley has started every game but one and came off the bench in that one. So that's a phenomenal load he's had as well. In a sentence, I thought the bench front row were brilliant as well. All did their jobs.
Well, there was no change. You know, the scrum didn't go backwards when they came on. There was no issues with them when they came on the field, and the line-out didn't disintegrate. We had one bad line-out earlier in the game. After that, everything worked smoothly and everything worked well. So yeah, the bouncers bounced.
Yeah, that's Murphy, Burke and Kenny all doing their jobs. Second row will do the cover as well. Gavin Thornbury and Quinn Rue. I mean, my God. And then even Ulton Deland coming on, throwing himself about.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure the stats there when the last time we had the three of them on the field, or three of them in the same squad, that we've been missing them for quite a while. It's just great to have second row. It's great to have that power, the pressure they were putting on in the line out. They weren't giving any easy ball to Leinster. The line out maul stopped, or the line out defence stopped the Leinster maul on numerous occasions. Leinster weren't able to bully us up front, and that comes from, you know, that whole front five showing what they're capable of.
Just moving around the positions, but the back row, Owen Masterson, Conor Oliver and Sean Masterson. I think you mentioned Keane Prendergast as well. He was the bouncer in that regard. But yeah, I mean, there's loads you can say about this as well.
Well, Conor Oliver's just playing phenomenal rugby. I saw someone earlier in the week saying one of the reasons he left Munster is because he's not heavy enough. I'm thinking, what? Like, he's only a kilo lighter than Scott Penny. You know, by the official figures, but I thought he was phenomenal tonight. Won a couple of really important turnovers early on in the game. He smashed Michael Bent at one stage in a tackle. It was like, wow, he's given 20 kilos to that man and stopped him dead in his tracks. Huge game from him. Sean Masterson, I thought, put in a very Dan Levy-like performance in how he did things. And Owen Masterson is just incredible. Like the work that man's doing. He's been playing second row most of the season. Comes out and plays another enormous game at 6. Huge. This is where he was before he got injured. 3-4 years ago, in that Zebra game. He was at this level where you're sort of going, wow. I wonder if Scotland are going to come looking again.
Oh, very cheeky, because Ireland need to wake up, basically. 27 years of age, Owen Masterson, right there, ready to go. 22, his younger little brother, who has a lot of potential there. So the back three, Colm O'Reilly, late addition to the subs bench, came on, got his impact. Dermot Kilgallen came on, got a chance to impact. And Ben O'Donnell, look, he's a cool looking rugby player, you gotta say it. Got the headband, the long flowing locks, all that stuff going on. And yeah, he looks like he might be able to make a bit of an impact as well.
He does. He looks like the honey badger for any of those fans of Australian rugby players. He looks exactly like the honey badger, and in the little bits we saw of him, he looks as though he can play like the honey badger too.
Yeah, very abrasive, very physical. So this is something we're seeing from the sevens. We were blown away by John Porch for a number of reasons. One of which was he won a penalty at one stage after a kick chase in the first half. This is some of my favourite moments of the game had nothing to do with the tries, and that was one of them, where he runs the length of the field, made a tackle, and just maybe talk people through the sevens element of the way he got up and made another tackle.
Well, you know, in sevens, one of the big things about sevens is that you don't have time to lie on the ground and admire the work you've just done. You know, expecting some of your teammates to come in and finish off the job you've done, because there isn't that many players on the field. So you have to get then, do your job, bounce straight back up and do the next job. And the speed at which he did that, I think, caught Leinster by surprise. The fact that he was able to get off the ground, make 3 or 4 yards and make the next tackle, which brought a penalty for Connacht just afterwards. That is just, and he did it the whole game. You know, there was times, every time we said, well, that was John Porch that was putting pressure on the fullback there as he jumped for the ball. That was John Porch that was over there pushing the man into touch. You know, he just seems to get around the field an awful lot. It wasn't something he did earlier in his rugby career, and obviously has learned that he can move around and still do all this sort of stuff, and that's game knowledge.
Ben O'Donnell and himself have those two different traits. We saw snippets of it from Ben O'Donnell, so wondering, is that another sevens trait? But both of them seem to be really good under the high ball. I didn't expect that from sevens players, but they are.
No.
Ben caught one. Let's not get too carried away, but it was impressive.
It was, and it was under an awful lot of pressure as well. You know, and his tap tackle that he did later on that denied Leinster a try with about 3 minutes to go. I think they eventually scored a try, but the game was over at that stage. But that was impressive. And again, work rate is what you're looking for. You're looking for competitive guys making it. It's something that we've been wondering what was wrong with Connacht over the years, even, and it was that how could Munster win games that we couldn't win, you know, and a lot of it was down to work rate and just sheer determination to win. And you mentioned it earlier on, we want guys, the most competitive guys in the field, and now you've got a situation where you've got competitive guys on the field, but also competitive guys sitting on the bench going, where am I? And then competitive guys sitting at home going, hang on a minute, I'm meant to be there too. So it's a squad, probably the best squad we've had in a long time.
Interesting, because I wouldn't have said that last week. But hey, look, we go up and down with the wind, don't we, in this job. But
and talking about the wind, for me, we would have won that game last week had we got the wind right if we'd chosen the right way to play.
Interesting. So it doesn't necessarily come down to the way we play. If you play the conditions and they played the situation very well, if they can play situations as well as they did tonight, maybe they can treat the weather like a situation in their head and just play it very well.
But the reality is, again, this is another night where it was perfect weather. Yeah. And the pitch was a bit slippy at times, it has to be said.
The big brutish bullies just weren't there. That said, I do think if Connacht are sometimes losing the contact area, if they have a Caelan Blade, Jack Carty, Kieran Marmion, Jack Carty combo working as well as that, and if they have sheer sparks of brilliance in the likes of Porch, in the lines of running of Daly, and in the potential of Ben O'Donnell, and if they have the finishing ability of the likes of Alex Wotton or the lines of running of Peter Sullivan, then I think they can, and I think that's Andy Friend's mindset when he suggests he has the squad, that maybe he says, no, I'm not sure we need the Fardies and these kind of superstars, or as I was pointing out last week, the huge loss that is Colby Fayenga, if we can make up for it with the sparks of talent that we have in these key situations.
Well, absolutely, because you look at that team and it's missing Paul Boyle, who's been one of the standout players of the season. It's missing their captain, Jared Butler, who, there's two huge.
Finlay Beelan wasn't playing tonight.
Well, I was going to say Finlay Beelan wasn't on the field. So you're going, well, wait a minute, and neither was Dave Heffernan. So wait a minute, that's four guys you would always have going down as your starting pack.
There's someone there. I think we have Bundy Aki.
Well, he's in the back, so I'm only talking about the pack here. Yeah, we could bring Bundy Aki in, and then you've Tom Farrell who's out there as well. So there is depth there. There's definitely depth there, and it's been coming. It's been coming slowly but surely. You go back to each game and you look at periods of the game where even games we were losing. Even when we lost at Bristol, there was still that point where we weren't bullied that much. When I went back and looked at it again, initially on the night I thought we got bullied off the field, but when I went back and looked at it again, I thought, well, actually, we weren't bullied by that much.
And they were brilliant. They had so many super talented players on that pitch. So there was a big challenge. I think there was a kind of a feeling that Connacht could have played 10 times better and still lost. And I think we were just frustrated at those elements.
Yeah, and so what I'm seeing is that we've lost games this year that have been frustrating, but we've lost games that we probably could have and in some cases should have won. You can even go back to the Scarlets game. We probably should have won that game. The only game I think this season I've looked at and thought there's no way we could ever win that game was the Cardiff game, when we just seemed to blow up a little bit. And
Beelan and Heffernan went off in the first couple of minutes that game, which I think was critical. All right, show me this table and explain to me how, from a position of losing to Ulster last week at home, for the second home defeat in the competition of the season so far, the Connacht can somehow still, you think, maybe, just maybe, challenge for top spot, which is the only way you can get to playoffs this year, because there's only one playoff, it's the final. Munster lead the way.
They're 8 points ahead of us, and we've played the same number of games. Now, I for some reason I thought we'd played one game less, but even then, if we can win next week and deny them a losing bonus point, then we're only 4 points behind them. And the games in hand, the matching game that we need to catch up that we both have, they have to play Leinster and we have to play the Dragons. You would like to think that we can beat the Dragons, and you'd like to hope that Leinster would beat Munster. That puts us on the same number of points.
Always looking up, our Alan, always positive. And my job sometimes is just to look down, because that's what I do. And we are, sorry Dave Finn, because I know that'll annoy him, 1 point ahead of the Scarlets, but have a game in hand on them. Still have to go there. They've beaten Connacht in Galway. That's for second spot. The top three go into the Champions Cup. So you look at Cardiff from that perspective, 7 points behind Connacht. Connacht have 2 games in hand on them. Well, Cardiff did beat Connacht already. Cardiff have to go to the sports ground. Edinburgh, well, they're 11 points behind Connacht, and they've lost to Connacht at home already. They have to go to the sports ground as well. So yes, interesting. Long way to go. Few games in hand to sort out. Play the other teams in your group, and obviously they have a couple of games against Munster. Lots of challenges. I think they'd absolutely be delighted to finish second or third and get into the Champions Cup. But they'll push hard for higher, and they'll take a lot of belief from tonight. We'll see, and we'll learn a lot more in the next few weeks. I think that's it. I think that's all. Was there anything left? I think there was a story that people were asking for about Mark McHugh. Here's the thing about our win in Donnybrook. Okay, no, I just need to say this. You've cut it, haven't you?
Yeah.
Talk to you during the week, midweek podcast. And don't forget, after that, there'll even be another bonus podcast the day before the game with one of the management team, William Davis, chatting to them after the team is selected. Who else has this coverage of their rugby team? Who else? Who else has a rugby team outside of Leinster, obviously? They can go there and do what they did at the RDS tonight. Brilliant. Well done, everyone involved.
Loose, cut it loose. Break out or nothing changes. Sad and confused. Don't wait until you